Hey guys, welcome to the second Cold War. What is going on is absolutely crazy in Ukraine and with Russia, okay? Throughout history, Russia's crapped on Ukraine and their surrounding neighbors, and it's completely unacceptable. What is going on is crazy, and it's made me wonder what Putin is going to do to the Russian economy because I think everything's on the table. There is a very real possibility of a collapse, and I've been wondering what will happen. So I've kind of compiled a little bit of an analysis because no one really has the answers, and I'm looking forward to this in the future to kind of see what happens, and it's terrible, okay? Because the Russian citizens are victims of what Putin is doing, and they are going to suffer from this, okay? Just like they're in darkness now because no independent reporting. The media was just banned, or social media as well, and basically all they listen to is the government, and it's basically like an Orwellian. It's extremely Orwellian, and it's very sad what's happening to the people, and they're gonna suffer from Putin. So here I have the top 10 countries by GDP. It goes United States, China, Japan, Germany, UK, India, France, Italy, Canada, South Korea. Yo, Putin, where is your country, okay? Russia isn't on this list of top 10 countries with their population of 145 million people. And this is kind of one of the reasons that people are calling this a gas station that calls themselves a country. I believe around 60% of their GDP is from oil, but I forget that exactly. They make up 11% of the world's oil produced. But yeah, coincidentally, they're 11th place. So just off the list, in USD, theirs is $148 trillion a year, their GDP for that many people. And it's like quite low in comparison to other countries like the US, and it kind of makes you think. If you go up to Canada, 37 million people, very small in comparison. It is 1.6 trillion USD GDP. So I found that really interesting. And basically, if you were to have a main theme for the 21st century, I would say it's globalization. I say everything is shaped by globalization. Everyone's interconnected. That's actually one of the only reasons why we had a pandemic too. But there's wins and losses. But since Russia only has like a couple trading partners left, they're not globalized. So are they really in the 21st century? And this is what some people are saying, that they're going to absolutely crush Russia with sanctions. Like, they only have a few people that they're trading with, and they're being sent back to like the 1900s, because who are they going to trade with? They can't get enough goods that they need or services, and they are getting crushed, and they will be crushed by this. And their economy isn't big enough to withstand this, okay? And one of their only trading partners that's left is China, and they're skeptical. Many Chinese banks aren't lending to Russia because it's not a good, like, there's sanctions can happen at any time. It's unethical, and it's just not good to be doing business with Russia, okay? So these are all the companies that are leaving Russia because of sanctions and because it's unethical. All of these factors, okay? Social media's all gone. Russians don't really know the truth of what's happening right now. All the car companies, Volkswagen just shut down a factory. They're losing jobs too because these companies are leaving. So they're not going to have any new cars. It's going to be like Cuba, depending on how long this lasts. Like, okay, that kind of sucks for them. Samsung and Apple are leaving, okay? Honestly, bro, I would rather have no phone than not have an Apple phone. Or at least, like, imagine they're only allowed to get Huawei's now, and Huawei's are already controversial, and they're gonna go around and ask for people's Snap with a Huawei phone. Do you think they're gonna give it to them? So it's either that or people use old phones. It's gonna be weird. They don't get any new technology. We got OnlyFans and these adult sites that are leaving, and on these sites, it's like half American and half Russian. Do you think people are going to be watching the Russian stuff anymore? Just like it's blood oil, it's blood boobies now, okay? No one's going to be, just like no companies want to do business, no one's going to be consuming Russian stuff. No one's going to be consuming Russian alcohol because that's blood vodka, and then it's blood oil. People don't want Russian stuff. Even after this is done, it will take a long time for me to touch Russian stuff again. I don't want anything Russian. Get that out of my face. I don't want any Russian stuff. Okay? Aeroflat, their largest airline, the CEO is rumored to have fled the country. Many of the airlines lease their planes from European countries, and they have to return that. So people not flying anywhere. PayPal banned Russian transactions. Visa, MasterCard out of there. Top 3 shipping giants out of there. They can't receive stuff. Maersk or whatever, the shipping giant, they said that because the dollar transaction sanctions against Russia, it cannot receive from or make payments to any sanctioned Russian banks or any other sanctioned party. This includes major oil and gas firms like Gazprom. Shell had a huge position in Gazprom. They're out. BP is out. British Petroleum. Let's just go through this. Yeah. So it's not good for them at all. It's not good. People can't, lots of them, if they're making money from specific things online, they can't receive any of that with the SWIFT sanctions and stuff. So in Canada, we have been leading lots of the sanctions against Russia, and the US has been quite slow behind us. And that's one thing that our Prime Minister has been very good about, is his stance with like Taiwan, Hong Kong, Ukraine. He stands up against these huge superpower authoritarians, which is pretty cool for us being so small, but he's very strict about it. And one of the reasons people say this is because of this person right here, Chrystia Freeland. She's from Peace River in northern Alberta, small town. She went to Harvard for Slavonic studies, and then she studied abroad in Ukraine and went to Russia frequently, which she was harassed by the Soviets, and they called her a troublemaker. And she ended up writing a few books about Russia, and she was banned from Russia. And she knows the nuances behind these conflicts, especially Russia-Ukraine, and she has helped us do every sanction that will stop that, or that will hurt Russia. So we were one of the first to ban Russian planes from our airspace. We were one of the first to ban Russian ships from our waters. And keep in mind, only 2 countries with Arctic territories, Canada and Russia. And we put Russia on our non-favored trading partner list. The only other person on here is North Korea. So Russia is being referred to just as North Korea. That's a really bad reputation. And so basically any single import coming in from Russia has a 35% tariff, and the US is weighing this as well. And their list, they only have North Korea and Cuba, because they have this weird thing with Cuba, and Cuba has no new cars. They have all of this old technology and stuff, and this could happen to Russia. This could be very, like, depending, I feel like there could be sanctions depending on how the government, if there's a new government or not in the future. These sanctions could last even past a war, depending on how the world sees it. And Russia could totally be shot back to a stone age right now. Okay. And Pelosi, we have fully banned Russian oil, which most of our oil is Canadian. I presume the rest that we don't have, it's mostly Saudi Arabian, but it's a tiny bit Russian oil, and we outright ban it. US is weighing this right now. Pelosi supports banning it. And yeah, so, and because of this, like, Ukraine is the breadbasket of the world. I believe oil and wheat are going to shoot up in value like crazy. So we have our so here in Canada and Alberta, there's the Public Pension Plan and the Heritage Fund, which is the oil money fund. There was $13 million stored in this Russian ETF. That's Sberbank and Gazprom and other ones. At around $26, it was 500,000 shares. That's $13 million. And this quickly evaporated from $13 million into like $5 million. And they claimed around $10 that they sold it. I'm not sure if you're able to sell it or not. No one's going to buy. And lots of trading is banned. The Russian stock market has been closed for a week. This isn't like attached to it. It's just, well, is or isn't, I'm not sure. But just like trading equities with Russia is iffy right now. But yeah, so they demolished this, and it's down 75% in the month, 55% in 5 days. Government policy is one thing, but when people get hurt with money, they're not going to touch it. Like if I was investing in a fund right now, I would not invest in a fund that has Russian stuff. People, when they get hurt financially, they don't go back, and people are going to remember this, and they're not going to go back. Okay. There's controversy on the legitimacy of how much they lost, but it says Kentucky Teachers Retirement Fund lost $3 million in Sberbank stock. Okay, so to talk about like Sberbank, basically Sberbank is their biggest bank. They were banned from Europe, which they have large client bases there. And their stock fell 95% on the London Stock Exchange in one day, I believe. And now they're in Russia. There's bank runs. People are pulling out their banks. ATMs are empty. Banks are empty. It is crazy. 7 banks are blocked from the SWIFT banking system. People have to keep 80% of their money in rubles, or rubles, but the ruble is down 30%. So if they have more than 80%, if they have more than 20% USD, they have to sell the excess USD, and people are going crazy. Okay, this one person that lived during the Soviet time, they said this: I don't want to play this game with the state anymore. They could declare martial law at any minute and confiscate my savings for the war effort. And they said they already lost all of their money in 1998, and they could see it happening again. This is where it could go really bad. So countries, to stop bank runs, they have insured deposits. In Canada, you have deposits of $100,000 up to $100,000 insured. If your bank goes broke, you get it back. The US, I believe it's $250,000. And then from my research, it seems like Russia is 1.4 million rubles, which was $22,000 USD. Now it's $14,000 USD insured. And so there's a really high chance that lots of people lose their life savings. And I think if you lose your life savings, you're not willing to lose much more, because you're losing everything to your government, and people are not going to stand for that, even against a totalitarian regime. Okay, their interest rate went from 10.5% to 20% in one day. Apparently, because of the sanctions, they were able to freeze about 50% of Russian government's reserves, they believe, which last I remember, I think it was like 600 billion for the war, and they're spending 20 billion a day, and they had 800 military vehicles like blown up already, and lots of these are very expensive. Their tanks are like $3 million each. Their money is evaporating in Russia. I think there's a very real chance that lots of people could lose their life savings because of the dollar having hyperinflation and like depreciating all this, or just losing all its value. And then bank runs and banks collapsing, because apparently bankers in the region are being warned that many Russian banks could collapse very soon. And it is crazy. These people are victims to Putin. Putin is ruining Russia and Russia's finances. Ever since he's been in, the ruble has just fallen. So there's the opposition Navalny, what, I'm not sure how to say his name. It's some weird, confusing name, but he's an opposition, anti-corruption. He's a Democratic guy. He has been locked up for about 400 days, I believe. He's having trial right now just for being like an opposition political guy who speaks out. And he at one point, the US, because this guy's been poisoned before, the US said, if this guy dies, you are going to have consequences, Russia. He asked his supporters to have ultimate disobedience against the government, and I think everything's on the table. I think there could be a very real chance of Russia having some kind of, like, trying to have some kind of revolution or something in the coming days, because they have nothing left. They have no truth in, like, their news. They're losing their money, and it's crazy. It's crazy. It would be very hard, but if they have 100 million people that are pissed, they can kind of do anything. But it will be really hard. I wouldn't touch the ruble or any Russian investments, because, like, when all the stuff happened with Germany, World War II, their currencies got, they lost their purchasing power, and they got rid of them. Who knows if the ruble will stay? Like, the Deutsche Mark hasn't stayed, so the ruble they could get rid of it in the future. Like, anything could happen to Russia right now. It is crazy. Putin is starting to act irrational, even though for the past, like, decades he's acted pretty rational. Now he's acting irrational, and anything could really happen with the Russian economy, and it could completely collapse. This could be going on for decades, like a Cold War. It is there's a lot of uncertainty right now, and, like, I'd like to hear what you guys think. I find this really interesting, what is happening. And yeah.